planting seeds, whānau. We have an absolute treat on the show today because my good friend and brother, Joey Daymond, is on the show. One of Aotearoa's most funniest people. And we talk about his journey, where he is currently in his life at the moment. And we have a beautiful segment around men's mental health, as well as his thoughts on his first time at Waitangi. Let's get into the show. Brother, we're here, G.
Bro.
Couple of years, well, far out. It's been so long, bro, since we've actually, come into a space like this. We've even just been around each other. Last time we've seen each other was when I bought that. When I bought this.
Bro, it was too.
I bought this off you, bro.
2 years ago. That was 2 years ago.
Gee.
Dang.
Bro, it's served its purpose, bro.
Has it been good?
It's been good, bro. It's been good.
Bro, and then the last time we did a potty was 2020. That's crazy, bro.
So much has happened, bro. So much has happened. I've got a couple of kids now, fucking married. There's a lot of shit that's gone on now, and even I feel even just where you're at right now, it feels like you've come into a new season, into a new space. Not just, it feels like that externally in terms of what's going on online, but I feel you've always had that, but there's just been that breakthrough of you coming into this next space or next season. Do you feel that?
Bro, I appreciate. Honestly, bro, and it's one of the things I've always appreciated about you is that you're not only obviously that's something in the space that you're in pays to be on the pulse. But I think one thing with you is you're so observational and you pay attention to everything, and then you also acknowledge the journey of that. Mm. That's one thing I love about you, bro. So I appreciate you saying that, and that's exactly been the space I've been in, bro. It's been unreal. But I think, it's been at the end of a massive journey. Even just thinking about through the last times we've caught up, I've been in such different stages of my life. But this has been one that it's been me, bro. I was literally saying, because I was with one of my best mates yesterday, and I was saying to him, because my partner and I were supposed to move to Aussie, and then, bro, we just decided maybe a couple of weeks before we were planning on going that we were just going to stay. But we'd sold everything, bro. So neither of us had a car, or still have a car. Neither of us still have a car. We're just crashing at her parents' place on an air mattress. To my name, bro, everything I own can fit in one bag.
You really sold up everything.
Straight up, I got nothing, bro. But it's the happiest I've been in ages. No... I got no real pressure on myself to be or do anything. There's nothing that I'm really responsible for beyond myself and, my partner, as much as you would need to be to your partner. But, bro, it's the most freeing
sort
thing
of freedom, eh?
Bro, it's crazy. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, hey?
Shit. That's so cool to hear, bro. And the reason why I celebrate things like that is because you can't get into a position like that without going through a lot of shit.
Oh, bro.
And it's not just celebrating where you're at now, it's celebrating getting through all of that. And I think that's something to appreciate and to acknowledge, because it's so easy to celebrate when things are good, and it's easy to feel good when things are good. But it takes such a journey and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of working on yourself and a lot of pushing through certain barriers for things to actually come to where you always knew they would be. But it's a journey,
Bro, and it's never been anything that I've been particularly good at, stopping and not even just, it's one thing that I'm bad at, celebrating myself. It's another thing I've always been bad at, is acknowledging myself. Is that, because what's been your journey with that? Celebrating, acknowledging yourself through periods of growth. How do you do that? What have you done? And then,
I know when there's been times, say there was a period where I had far zero money and had kids and had a family to look after, and I didn't like where I was at that time within myself, and I worked really hard and got a bit more creative, and then I went for this funding round, and the moment that funding happened and I cracked it, I just remember going like this, bro. like to myself. And to me, that's how I acknowledge. It's not like an ego thing, but it's a celebration for me because of knowing just where I was. And the moment that I get to a point where I know I can get to, I just have that moment. And I usually just take a video of myself just saying, I knew you could do it, you know? So it's those kinds of things that I do. And then I go about doing the work. And every point from that point on where I'm, you know, doing it, even that's an acknowledgement, you know, because it's something that I wanted. It's something that I desired, and it's something that I worked hard to get to.
Bro, and I think it's so difficult because our culture, and I mean culture as in like New Zealand, discourages us.
That's right.
From doing that, which is, you can see why we struggle as a culture, because how do you navigate your life where you're within a society that like actively discourages you from celebrating what's good in your life, which is, you know, that's fine. Okay, you get into this headspace where you just dismiss the good things, and you definitely aren't allowed to acknowledge them out loud, and you get used to not acknowledging them at all within yourself. So what have you got to lean on? Nothing but the bad, really.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a bad default,
bro, and that's a
deficit already.
And I think that's why, like, I really struggle with like the idea of I try not to say it too much, because and there's parts in it, the idea of it, that I disagree with, the idea of like we need to talk about when we're struggling.
Yeah.
So I like often say the opposite. I'm like, no, that's actually not our problem. We need to talk about when we're happy. If we create a normality around that being acceptable, then actually there may not even need to be a struggle that needs to be spoken about, because that is already balanced out by the parts of ourselves that we're allowed to acknowledge that also brings us happiness and joy and balance in our life, which at the moment, that's like the first thing to go. And is kind of an expectation that a lot of people hold themselves and each other to. And bro, that's been like a big thing for me, that I'm just like not doing that anymore. And
You've made that decision, eh?
Yeah, bro. And there was I even had like a small instance of it quite recently. So, bro, so I did all these shows, like my mate, Courtney Dawson, she's an amazing comedian. Her dad, Heta Dawson, also an amazing comedian. He started this like small comedy club in his garage.
Yeah.
Bro, it's so mean. It's in Manurewa. Fits about like 30 people comfortably. We were packing of like 40, 45 people, bro. It was pumping. And then, you know, for me, because my plan was always to like get the tickets and then like donate it all back to the club, right? And that for me was such a personal achievement, only because, bro, for so much of my career and my life, I've had like no money. So to be in a position where I can do that, I was personally so proud of myself. That was the part I was proud of, not the gifting it, because that part came from being proud of Poppy's the space. I was proud of my ability to like be able to make that decision comfortably.
Yeah.
And then usually that's something I would keep to myself, because in my head I'd be like, I don't want people to think that I like did it for so and so reason. But I just said it out, that part out loud too, because I'm like, well, people can think whatever they want. I'm proud of it. I'm going to say it. People then also see like what my intention is with this space. And then, you know, in the past where I probably would have just kept something like that to myself, and putting it out there, it just, you know, all it did is just really add to the entire story. It added to my reasoning. You know, it paints the picture itself as to why I do it at a place like that. And it's nothing of the negative that I initially would have like allowed myself to.
It's even getting to that place of thinking though, you know, because you're very observant even yourself, and I think you see things through a cultural lens, just with your own like background and live story and experiences, that you see things at a scale like that, and you have a knack of seeing a gap, or the way that you perhaps process things is like, man, everyone's saying this and you're not seeing any change, or you're not seeing any shift. And there's a creative process around what if not we, you're like, what if I
Totally.
You know, look at it in this way. And what you're doing at the moment is that there is courage, or there's curiosity,
Yeah.
or there's a I don't give a fuck attitude, and you're just really going down this path of authenticity and
Right.
having those, and you're not even doing it in a way to explain yourself to people why you're doing things, but you're just sharing your process about what's making you feel good, and that's it.
Bro, I appreciate the acknowledgement in that. And bro, that honestly is what brings me to Waitangi, is a journey, because, you know, I was explaining to like one of our bros before, for me, I've always been confident in who I am as a Māori, but I've never had confidence in who I am in Te Ao Māori, because for me, not looking at, not speaking, you know, it's like, it's quite small stuff like that, you know, through your upbringing, through your experience growing up, those are small things that always stay with you, regardless of like how confident you become as a person. So for me, because I'm like on that journey, and because I'm becoming, you know, really confident in speaking authentically to like where I'm at in that journey, then I'm able to like do it really with no fear, because I'm just letting people know like where I'm at. And that one lets people know honestly where I'm at in it, but then it also opens up that space for people that feel the same. You know, and it, like, I guess me being here so that I can then go back to people and talk about it. Like, I was scared. I am scared when I come to a lot of these spaces, bro. Real scared to the point where I don't even really know like where I get scared if I'm standing in the wrong place. I get scared.
Am I meant to be here,
bro?
Hey.
Like literally, like if people come up and talk to me, I like get scared of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. And rather than, you know, avoid that, my thing now is like, well, you know, I'm just going to put myself in it. And if I make a mistake, well, I'm owning my journey through that and just being authentic about how it makes me feel, where I'm at with it, more so to let other people know that would feel the same. There's at least one other person feeling the same as you. And what's been so funny is through all of these journeys, whether that be health, the gym, this, you know, people, it resonates with people, because I guess people don't talk about when the things are hard or when they're scared, especially like in the moment. I think
in the moment, yeah, that's right.
That's something I've always spoken authentically in hindsight in the past, but I've never been one to like speak as I'm experiencing it. And that's just all I do differently now.
I really love how you're doing that too, because, you know, that was even something that I wanted to put on myself, because, you know, I talk about tools, I talk about things that I've gone through, and, you know, there's the message around vulnerability, there's the message around practical ways of being able to work through things. And my goal this year, or thought of mine, or an intention of mine, was to actually share it as it's happening. And I've had moments throughout this year where I've just felt challenged, and I can't bring myself to pulling out my phone and just going through it.
That's hard, eh?
Yeah, it's really hard. Like in the moment, it's really difficult to show up. And I know that I'm doing the things to get me through it, but I can't talk about it as it's happening, like as you have been. And so there's a barrier there that I need to just push through, because I know that that's where things are super helpful for people, is like what you're saying, is you're sharing things as it's happening, which is resonating with a lot of people, even if it's just one person.
Yeah.
But the way that you're doing it and how often you're doing it, man, it's actually creating such a wave.
I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. And I think like honestly, one of the biggest things it does is I think it, not that I ever do it for this reason, but I've just learned this through my experience of doing it, is weirdly it builds up goodwill in your community, because what you're doing is you're adding nuance to like who you are as a person. And what that does is that cuts away expectation of like who you are, because if you keep putting yourself, you know, if you curate who you are and you make sure it's like, it looks a certain way, people are people. They're just going to expect what you give them. So if you always give them that, that's what they hold you. That's what they hold you to. So my thing is like, okay, well, if I just actually be like who I am, and I say what I think, and, you know, and that's like muddling things up. That's like reacting to things that like I shouldn't react to, you know, that's being sensitive in situations where, you know, people would probably look at it and be like, you shouldn't be worrying about that. if I actually represent that accurately, well, then the person that people expect is the real me.
The real you.
So there's no
Which is a gift to them as well, as much as a gift it is to you, eh? Because you're just being you, which they get to know the real you rather than the version that you've curated or even the person that I'm curating online.
Straight up, bro, honestly. And like, you know, obviously with my mahi and my passion being comedy, if anything, it just opens up more space for me because now comedy is not what they expect. It's just part of, I guess, who I am as a person. But they don't expect me to just do that. If they get that, you know, they're receptive to it because a lot of these people, for everyone, that's like why they know who I am. But it's that getting rid of that expectation for me to like just be there, and it just takes so much pressure off your life.
The acceptance of being all of these versions,
Bro.
you know, who make the mistakes, who isn't happy, who
hard out,
you know, who just goes to the gym for 5 minutes, you know, like all of those things are just proper versions of you in that moment,
honestly,
you know, rather than having the expectation of just being that one version that you think is cool, that everyone else will think is cool.
For sure.
Wow. And what's it like being for your Waitangi brother, you know? So like there's the scared part, but what's your actual experience walking around and being here?
You know what's honestly crazy? I didn't know that it was like this. So I don't know, for anyone listening, like how would you describe, because what the average person, I would say, what like they would see, I reckon, is just like what you see
the debates on
like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on like Waitangi Day, which you also only see the stuff that makes the news, which is all the debates, which is all like the ceremonial stuff, I guess. But then, like, I had no idea. Bro, it's pretty much like a festival. Bro.
It's a big celebration. Well, it's meant to be a big celebration. You know, you've got food stores. There's even like a whole kids zone.
Honestly.
There's a like, you know, rides. There's this forum tent that we're just parked out of where you've got groups of people talking about hauora,
yeah, bro,
governance, politics.
That's
you know,
me.
we've even got tangata tiriti out there. So, you know, all the variety of that, you know, it's not something that you know is happening here.
No.
So for you coming through that, like, are you just completely surprised by it?
Bro, I'm completely surprised because, you know, I think even people that like are supportive of Māori would think, because honestly, bro, even before I came here, I was quite fearful out of thinking that like a lot of what would happen around here and up here was tapu, and me not feeling 100% confident, especially when I come to, you know, iwi whose protocols would be very different to like the ones that I'm familiar with and grew up in. I always get like quite scared of like coming across as disrespectful, especially in Māori spaces, because people, you know, recognize who I am. So I don't want to be like, at least being like unintentionally disrespectful. Like that's like probably the one thing I get quite scared of. So I think that was kind of what I thought, and I reckon a lot of people think and thinking. So even people that support Māori will probably
feel that.
Yeah, and there'd probably be something as to like maybe they don't even feel like they're allowed to come up, and then you come up here and it's like, bro, everyone's here. Everyone's here and just going hard, and like it feels like one love, bro. Let's crack up. That's the best thing I said to Tao when we rocked up, bro. I was like, bro, this just feels like one love. Just with kids. Just with heaps of kids here as well. So, bro, that's been like actually the coolest part.
Yeah.
Because my big thing is, you know, I didn't want to, because my partner and I, like, you know, we definitely want to have kids, and, you know, we're definitely still a few years away. But my thing was always, at the very least, regardless of where I am with my journey of, you know, whether that's like my reo or even just like being Māori, the number one thing that I want my kids to grow up in is feeling confident, like in Māori spaces. And that allows them to like explore, build whatever their own relationship is with that. So at the very least, regardless of where I'm at, they at least grow up coming to those and being in those. So it's not like this thing that they're scared of in the way that I am. It's just normal to them. So irregardless of where I'm at, for them, it's just all that they know. And that's why for me it was important to start like really putting myself in a lot of these situations that I'm real uncomfortable in. And regardless of whether I ever become comfortable, at least for my kids, it's all they're ever gonna know. So yeah, bro, that's why I've started doing that.
That you're confident in being Māori, but the Māoridom aspect is where the uncomfortability is, or the anxiety, or this being scared is. And I think that's something that anyone who is Māori can so totally feel, or those who are on the journey of reclamation, or getting into that space. And so I think we all share that in common in some like slight way, or even in a big way. And let's talk about this weight journey, bro, because you're dropping the weight, but you're doing it in a way that suits you. You're getting a lot of credibility from people, and some people are just like not with it at all. And so what's that been like just for you, brother? Because man, it's been cool to see how you're going about it, and for it to be working for you.
It's crazy, bro. Since Jan, I've lost almost 10 kgs. So like a month.
Holy.
And bro, I honestly think what it is what I've found is because basically for my thing at the start of the year was like, I'm just gonna do a movement every day. And a movement could be going to the gym for like 5-10 minutes. And I genuinely have been going only for like 5-10 minutes. But then, bro, what I've found that has been like absolutely life-changing is because I've started incorporating such a little habit into my life, and that being movement. Movement is no longer like this thing that I hold any pressure to myself to. And then when you take the pressure off something, it actually becomes way more easy to do it. So even though like I may only be going to the gym like every day, my partner might be like, should we just walk down to the shop and like grab a drink? And when back in the day when I used to, I said back in the day, bro, last year, December last year, a month ago, I might be like, oh, nah, like I can't be old, or like, why, or like, there may be like a whole thing attached to it, or I maybe don't even have the confidence like to do it. But then because movement is just something I do every day, and it's just now a part of my life, I am way more accepting of it, and just about like any other sort of situation. So I find I'm just moving more, doing more. And what's really funny when you're someone like myself who just wasn't really exercising at all, bringing that much movement into your life, and then just having like some remnant of a consistent, like healthy approach to your diet in some way, bro, like the weight just falls off you, bro, and you literally don't even have to try. Bro, we still go out, like eat unhealthy, like eat kebabs, bro, eat Subway all the time and shit, still eat pizza. But because I'm like consistent on all those things, bro, it's been unreal.
But you've let go of the stress of doing this, or the expectations again, and you're found. And that's what I really like about, like, this is the one thing that I really like about personal health, is that you can curate it to suit you, rather than the boxed way of doing things. There's the people who do the keto or whatever it looks like, or this amount of training this day, this amount of training that day, whereas I feel health is something that you can really curate to suit the lifestyle that you have. Whereas if you're training or doing something real regimented, like, it might be good and you might get great results, but what are you going to do after that? Is it sustainable for you? Because being on those yo-yo diets isn't great for you, but you've found something that, what I can see anyway, suits you, your lifestyle, and the way that you go about things. And I like what you said around the habit part, because there's something even in Atomic Habits by James Clear. He talks about how those more minute, often overlooked steps lead to big things.
And it's crazy, bro. It's crazy how much they make a difference, because when you remove it from being a rule that you've put onto yourself, and you turn it into like a habit, it becomes so much easier to do. So for me, like the way I've processed it in my head that's allowed me to live it this way is like, if I treat going to the gym like breakfast, then that's all it is to me. It's not this thing that I have to do every day, because some days I'd forget. But that doesn't mean I'm like a loser and I failed.
No, that's right.
Some days I'll have a massive breakfast. Some days I'll have a tiny one. Regardless of whether I have it or not, I'm going to have it my intention is to have it the next day. And regardless of what it is, I don't paint that all as like, oh yeah, I had a better breakfast today, or I had like a stink one today. It's like, no, I just had some version of it. When I made the like move, and I don't even say gym, when I made movement then bro, it can be whatever I like feel like. If it's walking to the end of my driveway or not. I've had some like hard ass workouts, maybe like 2. But it's but I don't hold that with any more weight than the ones that are just like me walking to the driveway and back. And it's because I just made it a habit like breakfast, bro, because it's so funny.
When it's something that you do, it eventually becomes something that you become.
Bro, hey, you just become it. And then because of that, you just do it every day.
Yeah.
And then it all just becomes so easy, because the funny thing with me, bro, is I was never someone that even worked well, like with rules. Like, for whatever reason, I'm not even saying this in a cool way. It's actually something I find quite annoying with myself. The moment someone tells me I have to do something, bro, I don't want to do it.
You rebel against it, bro?
Including like when I tell myself that.
Yeah.
So if I tell myself like, bro, you have to go to the gym tomorrow.
You just resist it.
Yeah, like it's that next morning feels even harder to wake up in.
Yeah.
But if I tell myself, oh, bro, just do whatever you feel like, I can go harder. Bro, okay. Where I clicked, this is so funny, where I clicked that this is how my brain works, was if no one asks me to clean the kitchen or whatever, bro, I'll like clean the whole thing straight away. Like, just because it's just within the flow and I feel like I want to do it. The moment someone says, hey, clean the kitchen, I'm like, well, no, fuck the kitchen. You know, I'm gonna make some more dishes. Actually, it's just how it's annoying as hell, and my partner hates it. But but that I guess I just realized, okay, if this is how I process things, then this is how I have to like approach myself, which is something we forget.
Yeah.
You know, and
well, it's taken a few years for you to actually just finally see it, bro?
Oh, bro, yeah, a lot of dirty dishes. I'll tell you that, my brother, a lot. And so I guess that's something that has changed my life, just effectively this approach, because this is only one small part of it, but it's effectively this approach of, I'm going to treat myself how I would essentially treat like a younger version of myself if they were to come and like live with me. What would I be telling them? What would I be allowing them to do? How would I want them to live their life? The way I treat that person is way different to how I had been treating myself. And so once I changed that approach, bro, it's been the best thing that ever happened to me.
I think that's a cool way of even, like, you know, I get the feeling of seeing your content at the moment. It feels like that. It feels exactly like what you said. You know, you're not really like talking to the masses. People. It feels like you're talking to that like younger version of yourself, you know, that needed it. So it's cool how you said that, because I'm like feeling the feelings of like watching your content, and you know, that's what I'm getting, because I'm like smiling, bro. I'm cracking up. I'm having like, it's a good engagement to really get in there. And one thing that I want to bring up is content that you just done recently, and it was, you know, you speaking about soft. And, you know, someone sort of said, just stick to being a comedian. And, you know, you're talking about your wanting to express yourself because you got a younger brother and you'd rather be like this than him not have an older brother. Exactly. And so can you speak more about that, bro? Because I think for us as men, I think, you know, more of this kind of chat is important.
Bro, for sure. I think like for me, like I've been in men's mental health for like within the space for quite a while now, and I guess my biggest criticism of it, bro, is kind of what I mentioned before, in that we talk so much of these things in hindsight, and we talk about these things like I guess the process we have to implement, but people don't do them, and you know, put them out there. And because men, we're practical.
Yeah.
If you want to teach us something, like, you need to show us. It needs to be something that we can see and be like, okay, so that's actually how you do it. And then ironically, around men's mental health, that's not something that often gets done.
No.
We don't get given practical steps that like clearly give us a way of doing it. And it's like, well, okay, if we're not doing that, but you're talking to people that don't even have the tools to understand some of these things, how the hell are they going to know how to do it? You're just basically patting dudes on the back saying, yo, start talking more, and then pissing off. And I just got really sick of that. And like, I would get asked to like be in a lot of spaces, and I'm like, yo, this is like the 5th time this week that I've had to, pretty much this is just a glorified, let's get men to speak more. So you haven't told them how. So my thing is, well, I'm just going to express myself unashamedly and actually in real time help people like watch me process my emotions and express those unashamedly, because this is what that thing that I talk about actually looks like. And what's funny is that you see the resistance of it through like, I guess, some of the examples I've showed, and then you get to see like the process of that resistance, and then how someone, I guess, breaks through and still allows them, because it's a scary thing, bro. And honestly, I have moments where I think to myself like, okay, this person said that, like, all right, maybe I shouldn't let it get to me, but it is getting to me. So why, rather than, I guess, judge myself for the feeling, why not just address the feeling? And that's, I guess, what I'm like starting to do. It's like, well, look, I'm not perfect. I am sensitive. I'm reacting to this. Rather than shame myself for reacting to it, I'm just going to tell you that this is how I'm reacting, and you can see how I process that. And that's how I want to speak to men of, this is at the very least how I do it. Maybe you don't resonate with this way that I do it, but at least you've seen one way. And if I open up that opportunity for other men to do the same, then that's actually how we make proper change. Because if way more people are doing it, then way more men have a view of like
What it looks
could
like,
work
eh?
for them. Yeah. So that's like the thing for me. And it's scary, bro, because I think every time like, okay, yeah, maybe I am being a bit too like sensitive, or yeah, they were just joking, or, you know, I can see them laughing in the comments of like, yeah, it was just a joke and he like took that too hard. I do still take all those things on. And my thing now is like, rather than judge myself, I think of the younger version of me. What would I tell him? And I would tell him, bro, fuck it. You're feeling that. Don't ever let anybody tell you you're not allowed to. And that's just what I say to myself, bro. And that makes it feel all the better.
That's such a great way to go about, I guess, where there's a gap in what we're seeing within, you know, the space of men's mental health is, you know, and I'm very much so one of those people who can, you know, share a lot of things, but it comes in hindsight.
I was the same, bro.
And maybe I'm sharing it in private conversations, you know, like with bros or like with Inepanya, I'm speaking about things, but when it comes onto like a public platform and like actually processing those out loud, there's a gap that I feel I'm yet to cross.
Yeah.
But
Fair enough.
I get what you're talking about and how that is a huge step forward for us as men, because particularly in how you're sharing it, there's that side of it, but then there's just this go-get attitude, and it's having the balance of both, and you knowing within yourself that you are both, rather than always being that same person. And I just also think that there may be a, you know, and I've heard this in conversation, and I've heard it more recently, and it's around maybe there's a gap before even talking.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a step before that. Like
100%.
Because I think that just
that's where the problem is.
That puts too much pressure on the person who might be going through something, and it's like, okay, I'm going through this and now I have to talk as well. Right. You know, and so like is there a gap, you know, or space before actually talking that we might need to just sit and not say anything? Or, you know, something that I did a couple of days ago was me and a few of the bros, we had a workout, you know, we went for a swim, and I felt like a little kid again, and we didn't talk about anything raw, but it was a great way just to be. It was a great way just to enjoy things. And so maybe that looks like something different for us as men, rather than just sitting and just unloading. Maybe it's being more active. You know, you're doing golf.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen you swimming, you're with people, and I think it's those things there that can build up our confidence. So that's one thing that I've seen. And then another point is, now that that's happened, what about when they're alone now? And so you've got this massive drop of energy from like feeling so good, you're being around the bros, but now you're left with all of your things, and you're just gone on this huge ass wave of feeling great, and then all of a sudden you're depressed again. And I think that has a big that's a big, huge problem too.
But I agree. Like, I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly with everything you're saying. I think my frustrations and exactly what I said, come out through exactly what you said, because every conversation around it is about the result, is about the end part. It's like, no, there's so much happening before that, like, no one here is even talking about, and people seem content to not talk about it. Bro, one thing that I've like always really stood on that I reckon is our problem as men, and maybe I'm generalizing, and maybe I'm just a fucking random dude. So this is completely my opinion, but it's something I wholeheartedly believe. I don't actually think that we necessarily have a mental health problem amongst men in New Zealand. I think that's the result of what I think the actual issue is. I think we have a problem with men's ability to express themselves in New Zealand, and it comes through a lot of the cultural stuff that we just talked about. One example that I always give, and this is such a poignant thing, I think, especially for brown men in New Zealand, is how difficult is it when you're all sitting around and maybe you bring up a movie that's a bit buzzy that you like, or you pick a song that's a bit out of it that you like. You have all these like little interactions that like that. You tell me this, bro. We're all sitting around and maybe like reggae's playing and I play Kylie Minogue. Describe to me what you think would happen.
Hey, why are you playing this song?
Yeah.
That's not the vibe.
Bro, what are you up to?
Yeah. You just killed the buzz.
Yeah, fucking out of it. We carry that within ourselves, and knowing that the fact that you knew it is how much we carry that, and I don't even really know how to describe what that is, but we all carry that understanding amongst each other. So my thing is, like, if we can't even do it with something so trivial as putting a song on that we like, imagine, which would be right at the bottom of how we express ourselves, imagine everything
on top of that has a bit more weight.
With weight, and then, like, we can't even do that, and now you're telling me, yeah, you should talk about when times are hard. I can't even put a song on that I like. So that's actually what I think our problem is. And that's why I actually reckon we have such a bad problem with drinking. Because I think a lot of young men in New Zealand, drinking is actually the first time they become unapologetically themselves. It's not them being themselves, but I think it's their first experience of being something without those walls. And I think then what happens is, I think they get attached to that feeling and they think, oh, I'm being that because of the drinking. And
their false identification with.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. They kind of make the connection to the wrong thing. The connection should be teaching them that, like, no, this feeling that you're feeling is good. This isn't the place to get it from. Here's 10, 20 way more constructive places to get it from. That's what I reckon is our problem in New Zealand. I think men have an expression issue. And because they don't have not only the channels to express themselves, let alone the ability, bro, by the time the hard part happens, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And we were, as you saw with that picture, bro,
as you saw, conditioned already.
100%. As you saw with that picture, we were fucked way before the bad part even happened. So that's, like, I guess, the part that I really like to speak to. And through, I guess, how I approach social media, my thing is, like, you know what? I'm a man that struggles to express himself. So I'm going to show people what expressing myself unapologetically looks like. And it's scary every time, because I say in my head, like, that's dry, or nah, you look sensitive, or you look dumb. I say that to myself. Of course, I'm going to think the 100,000 people that follow me could also be thinking that, and I just put it up anyway. So that's, like, I guess, how my journey reflects, like, my belief, but they're inherently, like, definitely my beliefs, and I think take it with a grain of salt. But I guess that has informed my approach to my life, like, from here on out.
It's great how those ways of thinking and looking at things can then shape how we see ourselves and ultimately what we do.
Yeah.
And because if we're not having those deeper thoughts around things, it's not going to create the spark to go about things differently. And it happens subtly until it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Bro,
it happens subtly until it's already happening. And as you're sharing that, there was this video that I came across, I don't know when, but it must have been a couple of days ago or even just last week. And it was this man and he's just sitting outside and he's got this, it was like an old roll of wire, and he said it's come to its end, but he said he's had it for 40 years. And he was sitting there and his wife was videoing and he was like, man, I'm just sitting there like 40 years of my life has just gone like that. And you could see that he was emotional. And then the wife just said to him, and why are you wearing that hat? You know, just disregarded like him expressing himself and, you know, that moment for him and just sort of went off at him on the kind of hat that he was wearing.
Yeah.
And the message in that is that we want our men to speak, but we're not really listening or giving them the space. And it was just very similar to that. It's like when
100%.
we express ourselves, it's not landing where it needs to for us to build our confidence to
100.
keep doing it more.
100%.
But when you actually get someone who listens to you and you get that group or that one person even who hears you, who actually listens, that builds the courage for you to keep doing it. But if you don't have that or that space or even the discipline or the maturity to sit, and I'm not saying maturity like you're immature, but the maturity is, this is hard, but I know I'm going to get through it. I'm speaking to that kind of thing. But I feel
100%.
for us as men, knowing the conditioning that we have, we need to fight through it, through what you're sharing,
100%.
through the examples that we're seeing. And we just don't want that for us anymore.
100%, bro. And like I realized for me personally, bro, it was like one of the things that I guess really opened my eyes to like why I need to do it wasn't even for anything to do with myself. It was actually with my partner. Because one thing that I, you know, and I'll just speak to myself personally because I don't want to put this on, you know, but other people may resonate. At least for me, I realized that I put so much pressure on my partner. If she's like the only space where I am able to express myself vulnerably, if she received like, and because that's not the only situation I'm vulnerable, but if I like have bottled all this in and then it only goes through one channel, I mean, that's not good for either of us, and especially not them. That's why my bro Matt Brown, you know, his whole kaupapa is "She is not your rehab." That's essentially the idea like, that talks about, is that, you know, giving men the tools, I guess, to like learn these things that, you know, we're both talking about, because for a lot of us, our partner or our whānau does become the only channel that we feel comfortable doing that. And that's not fair on either side. So that's why I guess for me, like I lean into the idea of like, let's try to show other men how to build these other channels for themselves. Because that's how you become, you know, whole as a person, and your partner doesn't become this thing that you like need in regards to being that, I guess, channel for you to express that. They can be exactly what they are, your partner, your equal.
It's an empowering feeling to get to.
Yeah.
And it's a great space to get to within yourself as a man for that. You know,
100%.
Because our partners, as you said, they bear the brunt. They get the best of us and they get the most hideous version of ourselves.
100%.
And so we want to, the thing that I get irate with myself with at times is, say something happens and I don't feel so good about it, and I just keep talking about it, keep talking about it, and then it keeps happening. I hate, that's a strong word, but what I'm sharing is that, thank you, bro. What I'm sharing is I don't like being in cycles.
Yeah.
And I don't like being in a position where I know I'm doing the things that's getting me there. And so for me over the years, more recently, is that I can catch it. And it's so hard to recognize it. And it's so hard to do the opposite. Well, I don't even say the opposite, but something alternative. Because you're so caught in the way of behaving, the way of communicating, that you just do it without even thinking. And the catching it part takes a few times of, fucking it up, of getting it wrong, that you then eventually see. But as soon as you see it, we give ourselves the opportunity to just fucking pivot, and then it creates a different outcome.
And what you've just said is exactly the benefit of, I guess, that, what I was talking, because for you, you've done that work to set up those channels to express yourself. Bro, this is absolutely one of them.
Yeah.
And you've created so many of them for yourself. So because of that, you now have the tools to catch yourself. Think about a man that doesn't have any of those channels. How do they catch that same thing you spoke about? Through the only channel that he has to even explore it or understand it, like I said, a lot of them is their partner.
Yeah. Or not even that.
Or not even that, if they don't have that. And you can see like how like even just the smallest of things can then
pile up,
bro, so quickly. And so, bro, like exactly in the way that you just described it is the perfect example of, like, I guess, a practical thing that as men, I wish was sort of put out there more, that we can like implement within our lives.
We can see.
Yeah.
Because, good bro of both of ours, and, very much so an inspiration to me is the bro JV, Jordan River.
Yeah.
I like how he sort of speaks about, we don't even have to have an answer.
Yeah.
We don't even have to have a place to like land it. What he sort of speaks about is just the expression and not even having to land anywhere, and like being okay with that. I feel is coming back to how you've been sharing, is there's no expectation, or there's no sort of, particularly as men, we're so wired to know what the next thing is, or we're wanting to, have control in some way, but just having that ability to just be okay with not arriving anywhere.
Yeah.
I feel that's a awesome like practice as well for us as men.
And that's such a hard thing for us to fight against, almost, because we're inherently solution focused.
Sure.
Like we love a solution, but it's because, again, like we're practical. We love being presented with a problem, and one thing that gives us a lot of confidence is our ability in knowing that we can fix it.
Yeah.
So that's like
true.
That's almost like,
and if we can't fix it, then we sort of see that as shit, I'm not worthy.
100%.
Shit, I'm not good enough.
100%.
Yeah.
So that thing that you just talked about there is almost like how it almost describes how difficult this whole journey is, because it's fighting against yourself, really.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
And it's fighting against what's, biological to us. But in doing that work, you've also painted the picture of how rewarding it can be for you, being okay with. And I think that's, almost to bring back what we're talking about, I think that's why, like, I say people in general love these. The only fucking one I can think of right now is 75 hard,
I'm doing that right now,
bro. But I think, I think what a benefit in that is that, like, if you're struggling with routine and stuff, it brings in a structure, and it brings in a start and an end point, which we all absolutely benefit from. I'm a person that absolutely benefits from that. It gives me like a clear structure to work within. But then, I think also some people get stuck on, and I know you don't struggle with this because you work through this in many other arenas. I think so many get stuck on the fact that, like, okay, if this is the only way that I know I can do this, and if I fail in this, then I'm fucked. So I guess it's like finding that balance of enough structure that your direction that you're kind of going, with the leeway
that's mean
that whatever happens can happen. And because that's why I guess that's the only reason why I personally don't do that, because I'm like incredibly hard on myself. So the moment I put myself in that,
you find all the ways out of it.
Pretty much.
I appreciate this conversation so much, bro. Because I've had heaps of these chats with, a few of the bros, and I think where we're at the moment is, like, we can go there in these kinds of conversations, and, this is just our way to normalize, the kind of lingo, because as we talk, there's new ways of thinking, there's new language, and if we don't know what we're doing, then it's hard for us to actually see what we need to work on.
Bro, straight up.
And so these conversations and our experiences just can paint a picture of being like, oh fuck, there's a bro that might be struggling, there's someone who's gone through exactly what we're going through, and we're speaking about these things. And just want to come back to the 75 hard part. And for me, I'm doing that because for me at this time of the year, I knew I just wanted to do something radical to just bring momentum. And I've done it in the past. And the good thing about it is that you have boundaries, you have a structure, as you said, and it feels good because you can't say.
Which, don't get me wrong, I also have implemented into my life.
Yeah, and I heard that in your and the thing that I heard mostly within yours is that when you do something after time, like the habits, it's not about the result at the end, but it's just about doing.
Yeah.
And that's what
For
I
sure.
like. It's not a fuck, I got to do this. It's I just got to do it.
Yeah.
It's that embodiment of.
Totally.
And it's the becoming of once you finish it. And the thing that I do is I prepare. I prepare for the start, and I also prepare for when it finishes, knowing that when the boundaries come off, now the challenges. Now it starts. Now things sort of can come into play where how much did you learn and what are you going to take into that next season?
Bro, and it's so interrupt, bro, because the only reason I butted was because I didn't want you to think that I was like demonizing like 75 because a lot of people I think see my whakaaro and think that I'm against those kinds of things, because actually I'm for them, because my thing is like I know how important structure is, and some people need a structure that like. So
what I'm always hearing from you, and what I think we're doing similar in, it's habit forming.
Habit.
It's just habit creation, or habit. What would it be? Encouragement.
Totally.
And like any habit that's for our health and well-being, whether it's the way that you're doing it or the way that I'm doing it.
I'm for either way.
Sort of, if I know, because the way that I'm doing is making me better.
100%.
The way that you're doing is making you better. And that's what we got to acknowledge, full circle, bro.
100%.
From the start of the conversation to now, it's like every day that we're doing how we're going about it, if we can acknowledge that and we're doing it for our reasons, then
100%.
Bro, we can't not do it for that.
Bro, and that's my thing is like, I definitely like and am in agreement with those, and the only reason I talk the way I do is to bring nuance to it, to show that there's like a spectrum. But ultimately, regardless of whatever end you're at on it, my thing is like they're all important. And everybody. But I think so many where people, and I guess these are the people that I talk to, where people get stuck on is if they can't do the extreme end, then don't do it at all.
Don't do it at all.
Whereas my one's like, nah, do the fucking my part that's half-ass. Work your way up to the extreme end, or don't do the extreme end, just do the half-ass part, or just do the extreme. Like either way, any version of it is good. So that's I guess my whole like approach
outlook on it.
Yeah, bro.
Wow, bro. And so what are the things that are coming up for you, brother? Like there's a lot of good happening in your space as well. Speak about, the up and coming shows and, is there new material that you've been working on, or, how's all that going for you?
Bro, so I've got a tour in April. I start my New Zealand tour in April and then Australia tour in May. I actually announce it literally tonight. So my Australian tour, so doing 12 dates in New Zealand, 9 in Australia. So it'll be it's a big like few months. And this tour is bro, it's pretty reflecting on like the journey I'm at personally. It's a very in the past, I think the biggest thing that's hindered my comedy is actually trying too hard to be funny and being scared of being anything but. So this tour, I guess, is me actually recognizing that, for people to have paid money to come see me, a lot of people who this may be like the third, fourth, fifth time they've paid money to come see me. My thing now is recognizing like, okay, these people have invested a lot of time and money into me. I guess, if anything, they deserve me to present myself and like who I am. They deserve to like learn about me and my story. So this is actually probably more focused on that as opposed to like, because my last tours, it's just my only focus has ever been what's the
Make it
funniest.
fun.
Yeah, what's like the funniest 60 minutes I could put together. And if anything, it probably hindered my ability to do comedy. Whereas now my only thing is I want people to actually learn
Who you are.
Yeah, they've put so much time into me. Like they deserve to actually know that. And so that is my first focus within this. And then figuring out how to make that funny is the second part. So that's kind of what this is all about. Like I talk about, because I'm pretty private about my family. Like even after almost like 10 years on social media, people don't know what my parents look like. They don't know what my brothers look like. People haven't known that I've had a partner. We've been together for 2.5 years.
Oh shit!
Yeah, bro. We've been together for ages, and we dated for 2 years
Before that.
Before that, so yeah, we've been together like 4 years, or like people don't even know what she looks like. So I've always kept that very, very private. And I guess this is the first time I'm like ever opening up a lot of that. Because I guess I'm just in a space in my life where I'm just opening up as a person, and I don't know if it's the funniest. I'm not even going to say it's like my best work, but I'm just going to say it's like, I don't think I've ever been happier like with what I'm putting out there when it comes to the stuff that I'm talking about in it. Because it is a lot of very personal stuff, but some people have supported me for so long, I feel like they deserve to hear that. So that's where I'm at, bro. And it's been so mean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Acknowledging you at the highest, bro. I, had a kōrero just recently on the stage there, and when I think about, moving forward, I just really think about more gratitude, more acknowledgement, more sense of thriving, and, you stepping into this new season. It just feels so good to be on the receiving end of your light, brother, and all the things that you've gone through, the way that you think, the way that you present yourself, and even just the presence that you have. And can't believe it's been 5 years since we had our last podcast or
crazy, bro?
even just seen each other. But although we don't see each other often in the flesh, it's always good to do that. And I always appreciate that time with you, bro. So I've had a bit of your time today, but I just want to pass it over to you, bro, if you have any final words for the people who have been tuning in.
Bro, I guess, and everything you just said, bro, really means a lot. And I've always, I think from the first moment I ever like heard your whakaaro on Ice's potty you did with him, bro, like 5, 6 years ago, bro. I remember that was the first time I heard you speak, and I resonated with so much, because I remember you talked about like your relationship with like drinking and stuff, and I was literally in that sort of process as you were talking about it, obviously after you've like
been through
it already, I was like in it. And I remember that hitting me like so hard. So bro, I've always appreciated everything you're doing, and I've always appreciated everything you've had to say. So anytime you've asked me, I've always been keen to share that space with you. And so it means a lot that you feel the same. Bro, the biggest thing for me is like, I kind of mentioned it before, but like, and I'm not saying this, I guess, as advice for people. I'm just going to tell people what sort of changed my life is my relationship with my youngest brother, who's 19, my relationship with him is a lot of what this tour is about. And when I called it the Hope I Made You Proud tour, it's actually talking about my younger brother. And if people come along and they come see it, they'll see like that whole story. And it's crack up. It's like, it's sad. It's like everything in between that, your relationship with your whānau is. So, the biggest thing that I realized was I had a very different relationship with my brother that I did with myself. And the things that I would say to my brother when it came to how I would approach him were very different to like how I would speak to myself. And then what changed my life was the moment I started speaking to myself the way I spoke to my brother. And just like really being the person that your inner child wanted when they were younger. They're still in there. We think that they go at some point. They're always there within us. That's been the single greatest thing to happen to my life. It's that voice that now speaks to me. It's not the voice that used to speak to Joe now. That voice speaks to younger Joe that's still in there. And he's been and me now is the benefactor of like all of that. So everything that, you graciously, acknowledge that I've been on, which I appreciate so much, has been as a result of that. But so thank you so much for that.
I can see that visual, of that inner chat, because we all have a dialogue, bro.
Yeah, bro.
We all have that inner voice, bro. Sometimes
we do.
multiple,
We do.
and we can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and either beating ourselves down or sometimes it G's us up. But there's that dominating voice, and whatever's dominating within there is ultimately going to shape, I guess, 100%. How we are in life.
100%.
And to hear that you've got this younger Joe or in there that's guiding you now, and I just know that conversation that you're having internally, bro, it's coming from the heart, it's coming from a good place, and for that to be the dominating thought, bro, that's peaceful, bro. That's comforting, that's inspiring in many ways. So to see or to hear that insight or where you're at internally,
I appreciate that.
That's amazing, bro. Like, for us all to get to that point is something that I feel would happen in time, but for that to be happening to you at this point, bro, it's pretty mean. Because look, the reason why I like doing the work, brother, is, and the reason why I'm in the space that I'm in, I'm 33 this year, but when you get into doing the work, I got into it at 26, and there were hard years, but the sooner you get into it, look at the rest of your life that you have to enjoy. It's like, shit, I've got another good 47, however long I've got years of something that's actually going to be how I want it to be, or in alignment to how I want it to be. And so for you to be the age that you're at, bro, and you've already got, this relationship with yourself, I'm just pleased to hear that, because of like what the rest of your life is going to look like. And we want that for all of our kids. We want that for like the younger generation. Is like, when you start now,
100%.
like it just opens things up for the rest of your life. And perhaps there's another chat within that, is that maybe you just got to go through a few things in your life to then get there.
Oh yeah.
But if you can just be in a space of receiving it and going there right away, you don't have to make those mistakes. But maybe there's a part of your life that you need to go through that. And so, brother, I just want to thank you, bro. I'm going to put the link to your show in the bottom of this episode for any of the whānau who are in Australia, who are here in Aotearoa. Make sure you get one of those tickets and go and see the bro. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Che, my brother. Yeah.